Welcome to my YouTube channel. I just wanted to come on here and do a quick video on this whole Eric Mason thing. We've heard what he said, the accusations he's made toward James White. So I thought it might be useful to do kind of a comparison between old Eric Mason on the one hand and new Eric Mason on the other. Now we all know what new Eric Mason is. He's very social justice warrior-y. He's got the woke church book, and he's very much involved in that kind of in that discussion, very much on the social justice side of things. And so I want to look back in time. I'm going to go back a few years. 2014, in fact, is a video that he did with Lecrae and Trip Lee. A.D. Robles on his channel did a video today where he mentioned this video, but he didn't play it. And so I want to actually go back and look at it and play it. This is actually not a video that I was just made aware of today. I was thinking about this video for the last 2 days or so. I think yesterday morning is when I first noticed it, and I started thinking about it then. So I kind of wanted to do this comparative analysis so that you guys could see. Now, assuming, of course, it's not a true comparative analysis, because I'm not going to go through woke church and a bunch of modern, up-to-date Eric Mason videos to show you new Eric Mason. I'm assuming you know who that is and you know what he's said recently. You know the kind of accusations he's made toward Dr. White and so on and so forth. But this video is really interesting. I think you'll find it interesting as well.
The whole idea with African Americans, how we're black, right? And sometimes being in the reform circle, if we want to call it that, right?
Yeah.
How do you all feel about people who think that, who would dub you guys, me, whoever, as under a theological imperialism?
Yeah.
That basically.
Now he's going to explain this, and what he's saying is basically, people would make the accusation like a lot of social justice warriors do today, that, hey, since you guys are part of the reform camp, you guys are actually part of the white man's religion, and you need to, you've gone back to the plantation, so to speak, and Eric will enlighten us as to that. And it's ironic, they're kind of poking fun at this kind of behavior because it's so ridiculous, right? But now it seems like this kind of behavior is almost normal, so to speak. You can't, you don't need to be listening to white theologians. You don't need to be listening so much to white theologians. If you listen to white theologians, you're not listening to black theologians. If you're not listening to black theologians, you can't get black theology. I mean, Eric Mason just recently said, I think at a conference, he said something like, there's a lot of black people who they're Angloid on the inside, which means they're white on the inside. That's kind of a derogatory term for white people now, I guess. They're white on the inside, but they're black on the outside. So they only look black, right? It's very racist language. And here, they're kind of poking fun at that kind of behavior. So it's odd.
We're on, some type of plantation, basically, and we're just kind of, I can't say it here, that house dude, right? You know what I'm saying? And how do we deal with, you can't laugh that long. Like, how do we, because that's like an undercurrent right now.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, especially with the traditional background that many of us come from or experience and want to be a part of influencing, yet not coming in acting like the gospel's never been in the traditional Baptist church, or
right.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if you want to speak on it, but
Go ahead.
I have my own kind of life experience. Like, it's a journey. I think I didn't grow up in church, but the church I experienced when I was younger was the traditional African American church.
Right.
So when you sit in that and then you become a Christian, like after I was converted, that was the only church I knew to go to. So I would go to that church,
mm-hmm.
and I'm hearing things that are true and are incredible and are good for my soul.
Right.
And I may not be hearing the things that I do need to hear as well. And so then I venture over into, a majority white conservative evangelical church or whatnot, and I hear truths that I didn't hear over here.
Right.
Now my knee-jerk reaction is, y'all didn't teach me nothing. And I get to railing on this community that, had nurtured me in a lot of ways. And I just focused in on what I didn't get and became to make this the place to be. But then I'm over.
Okay, so interestingly, he's talking about he was malnourished in the black church growing up. He said, the kind of traditional black church where he grew up in, Lecrae was malnourished in some areas, but not in other areas. Okay, that's fair. But what James White just recently said over the last couple of days or so is along those same lines, that there's that kind of theological malnourishment in a lot of black churches. And many, if not most, majority black churches, it's all about liberation theology, James Cone, blah, 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 blah. They've become sidetracked from the gospel. It's not because they're black, but it's because they have gotten sidetracked. They've become distracted. They're distracted with more so a political message than they are with the true and pure gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, when James White says that, it's wrong, but yet here in 2014, during this video, Eric Mason is agreeing with Lecrae when he said, there are some things I wasn't being taught. And so, he doesn't take issue with language like that if someone like Lecrae says it, but if someone like James White says it, you better watch out. Okay, I want this video to be brief, and I don't have all that much time either, so I'd like to skip forward if I could and try to find this one area of the conversation.
The other side, and it's going to explain the trajectory on how you develop the exegetical aspects of getting to the point with seeing Jesus, not just in a part of the book, but in the whole of the book, and begin just saying, man, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and walking guys through that. And one of the things that I also do is I'm intentional about helping guys to listen to solid biblical preaching by guys of multi-ethnic background. And I also get them to read books like C. Eric Lincoln's book on the African American church and the black church and African American experience, which shows the comprehensive execution of the gospel over a 200 to 300 year period that they laid out and looked through. And you'll see both the social justice stuff ain't new, but then you see the preaching of the gospel wasn't new. And so you're beginning to dag,
okay, the social justice stuff isn't new, and he kind of mentions that in negative light, right? Like the social justice stuff, whatever, we can kind of throw that out, but the gospel's there. So he's emphasizing the priority of the gospel over something like social justice, but as of late, Eric Mason is totally consumed with social justice and the social justice movement ideologies, I would say, the critical race theory kind of stuff. You're white on the inside, but you're black on the outside. You only appear to be black when really you're white on the inside. That is an ideology that is unchristian. That is unchristian. That if you act this particular way, you're actually acting more in accordance with somebody else's whiteness than you are with your blackness. Come back to being black. Come back to your black culture. Stop breaking the norm. Stop breaking the mold. Stop going to a majority white church just because it has good theology. You need to be reading and listening to black theologians because you're black. It's just kind of very much so racially divided along racial lines, or at least that's the goal, right? To fragment the church along lines of the color of one's skin. But that's not the Eric Mason really that we see here in this video. So here's, brothers and sisters, here's one of the things I need to point out. We need to talk about this. Why is that not the Eric Mason we see in this video? This is 2014. Why wasn't Thabiti Anyabwile talking like this back then? What changed? What changed? What do you think accounts for the change? I don't know. If I threw anything out there, I'd be labeled a conspiracy theorist, which I don't really care. I think there's money behind this. I think it's safe to say there's money behind this. Why would this all of a sudden become an item within a very short amount of time? And it would almost require a paradigm shift in men like Eric Mason and men like Thabiti Anyabwile, who weren't talking like this a matter of a few years ago. Yet now they have no qualms when it comes to talking like this, when it comes to dividing the church along racial lines, along the lines of skin color, along the lines of culture and things of that nature. We're black, so we need to be a part of black culture. If you're not part of black culture, well, you're on the white man's plantation. That is racist. that is racist. It's also racist to say that white people can't say the same things as black people. So a white person cannot state a fact, an objective reality, without being called a racist. Now it's racist just to talk about facts, as we've seen with James White and Eric Mason's response to James White, which was not very well articulated at all. It was foolish. Nevertheless, the ideology is there. If you're white, you can't say that. You can say it if you're black. We have it here in this video. There's other videos of Eric Mason admitting a deficiency in the black church. Anti-intellectualism, bad exegesis, wrong focus, not thinking enough, Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, if it was useful to you, if it was helpful at all, please click the subscribe button down below. Click the bell to get continued notifications. And if you like the content, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down and let me know why. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day.